I have a question. Why does it take more than 1000% of return for the market to finally pay some attention? On this channel, I've published a video on LAB roughly 1 month ago. In this video, we're going to discuss whether or not it still makes sense to buy LAB at the current prices. So here was that first video, published 25 days ago. The video underperformed the average video by quite a bit, so there were way fewer views. But now, suddenly, things are picking up again. We are at $16.60. The first video was published when we were still at $4. So if you want to be early next time, feel free to subscribe over here. I try to publish videos on assets where the momentum is just building. Hi, my name is Gerhard. I've been in the crypto space for the last 8 years. I hit my first million 3 years ago, and I did this through actively trading. On average, I outperformed buying and holding Bitcoin by 2% per month. My track record is on the website that's linked in the pinned comment down below. This is the history since I published my trades in real time, so that's for the last 2 years. And here is the entire history. Everything can be verified. I don't think that many other people here on YouTube are willing to be that transparent. Now, I don't always do profitable trades, so my win rate is actually below 50%, but the average win rate is higher than the average losing trade, and so that makes 5.2% gains per individual trade, and each trade lasted a bit under a month. So that's for the active trading part. There's also a bit more history over here in copy trading. That shows everything for the last 5 years, but here I don't have the individual trades. But this shows the alpha versus buying and holding Bitcoin over time. And so in this video, I'm going to share the data points to decide, should we buy the LAB token still at those high prices? Should we potentially short it, so bet on falling prices? Here's the data that I believe matters. Now, first of all, just go to the website. Go to lab.pro. You'll get forwarded to the login page, but once you click on those buttons, nothing happens. Now that's already quite interesting, isn't it? There are already first people on X that have their doubts. Will LAB be like the RAVE token a while back? Here is what happened to RAVE. It went from a few cents to above $20 to then come crashing down again. The voices are plentiful and very loud. LAB is the perfect Ponzi and it's going to crash. By the way, I also regularly publish data points on X. Feel free to check that out. Here is the username @BitcoinStrat. Make sure that you're following the right user and not an imposter account. Now, are those concerns justified? Will LAB come crashing down? It's now very close to the price of RAVE when it started crashing, right? RAVE started crashing at $20. Now LAB is at around $15, $16. Let's see how LAB is justifying the current rally. There is a buyback program, for example, that was posted 11 hours ago. Let's check out that buyback program. The data is actually quite interesting. This looks very convincing, but have a look at what happens in the transaction history. Per day, we've got roughly $5,000 worth of LAB that gets purchased. It's more LAB tokens when the LAB price is low. It's less LAB tokens when the price is high. But it's roughly $5,000 a day. Now, I'm not here to say that a buyback program is a bad idea. It's always good when the supply is shrinking. But how much impact do $5,000 a day have on this particular asset? How big is the asset? How liquid is the asset? I mean, in the end, we are talking about a rally like this here. And this is not triggered by $5,000 a day of buybacks. We are talking about a few hundred tokens of buybacks per day. But have a look at the tokenomics. We've got 200 million tokens. And that will grow all the way to 1 billion in less than a year. So the unlocks finish by January of 2027. That's 800 additional tokens over the course of 7 months. That's 114 million per month. And how much is that per day? The answer is 3.7 million. We've got 3.7 million worth of unlocks versus buybacks that hover around 1,000 and tends to be rather lower now. So it's very, very important not just to follow the headlines, not just to follow the news. It's important to actually crunch the numbers to figure out how is demand and how is supply developing long term. Now, here's what could potentially fuel demand, and that's usage of the platform. Let's have a look at those numbers. Here are the fees that get generated by the LAB terminal over time. We used to have a lot of fees. The peak day was almost 200,000 on the 8th of September of last year. But right now we are very far away from that. Very likely the buyback program is coupled to the fee generation. That's usually how those programs are structured. And so if we don't have any fee growth, we won't have any more buyback growth. And even if we were at those all-time highs of fees, so 200k, and all of that would be used for buybacks, that's maybe 20,000 tokens being purchased per day, and that's only at a price of $10. 20,000 versus those 3.7 million. So you might be getting an idea where I'm heading with this. Let's have a look at the spot trading volume versus the perpetual futures volume. So how much levered bets are currently being made on the LAB token? In the last 24 hours, we had 68 million worth of trading volume on spot. Compare this with the perpetual futures market. Here we had 2.6 billion. So really, all of the price discovery happens on the perpetual futures. People are just betting on the price. They are not buying the token at all. Now there's an interesting development here. Have a look at the funding rate. The funding rate is massively negative. This is probably because of two things. So there are people that bet on rising prices and on falling prices. And so first, when we get a price rally like this, all the shorts get liquidated. They get flushed out of the market. That means that only the longs are left, and the longs have to pay the shorts for positive price exposure. When they are paying, they're paying the funding rate. And so the few shorts that are still left, they get the funding rate from all of the longs that are still left. And so when we get a cascaded liquidation event by the shorts, we tend to see the funding rate go down like this. But there's a caveat with that explanation, because have a look at the liquidations. The liquidations are actually not historically high. They have been higher 1 month ago at the 2nd of May. But the funding rate was not as negative on the 2nd of May. So the explanation of short liquidations can only be part of what's going on. The trading volume on the perpetual futures is actually not as high compared to 1 month ago. And the open interest is at all-time highs, but it hasn't grown as much as one might expect given how much the price appreciated. So this is not just a battle of perpetual futures traders against each other. Otherwise, we would see the open interest go up much more. What I think is going on here is real pure manipulation. As in, imagine you're a sports betting house. You offer that you can make bets whether Team A or Team B wins, say for a soccer match. And then a lot of people think that Team A is winning. Now the sports betting house wants to balance out the funding rate, wants to balance out the odds. So the sports betting house bets on Team B. Now what happens is that the sports betting house also bribes the referee. The sports betting house is able to impact the game. Now how does this happen in crypto? In crypto it happens simply by buying up the spot market. So in my example, the sports betting house would pay the referee, make sure that Team B wins. In crypto, the market makers, the centralized exchanges, they just buy up the token. They short squeeze the price. So many people are betting on falling prices, and so simply a few $1 million worth of the token gets bought on the spot market, pushes up the spot price, thus liquidates the billions of dollars worth of bets that are being made on the price. This is an unfair game, and the price will always move in the direction where most people will get liquidated. Still, we can actually make money from this because we know now that the market makers, they bought up the token. They manipulated the price. What that in turn means is that at some point they have to also sell off their supply again. When they sell off, then of course the price tends to go down again. That's what we saw in the RAVE DAO token already. That's probably also what's going to repeat itself again with LAB. So I do agree with Zane Lee on this point. The question is only, when are we going to see the reversal of that pump and dump? RAVE DAO turned around at a bit over $5 billion. LAB has already reached $6.4 billion. There is a cost to manipulating the price. We need to get enough liquidations to justify all the transaction costs of buying and selling on the spot market. If the market cap moves to 10 billion or to 15 billion, it's very unlikely that the manipulation is still profitable. This might have already been the absolute top for LAB. Very few pump and dumps like this go beyond $6 billion. Many of them turn around even earlier than that. And so I'm actually looking for a short entry opportunity here, but I'm not going to short this directly tomorrow. I'm waiting for the current momentum to turn around. I'm waiting for the trading volume to come down and then enter a short. But again, this is a very risky game. We can't do this with too much capital because in the end, we are playing against the market makers and they are the most sophisticated players in the market. I want to have the not so sophisticated players as my opponent when trading. I don't necessarily want to have the Binances of this world trading against me. They tend to win long term. But again, I'm sharing all of my trades in real time here in Premium. The last similar trade that we made was against Luna Classic. So you can verify every single trade just by clicking on the opening date and the closing date. That then gives the corresponding messages. So here is when we shorted Luna Classic. That's when we got a death cross. And then we closed that short over here when we got the golden cross. A very similar setup. We got a short squeeze. Then the momentum died down. And that's the ideal entry position. We don't necessarily want to enter a short when the rally is still in full swing because we can see the rally continue and then we get another short squeeze and another one. It's better to enter such a position when the attention has already moved to the next token. And so feel free to check it out. It's all part of the Premium membership. There's also a 7-day money back guarantee. So in case you don't like Premium, just email me within the first 7 days and I'll refund you. No questions asked at all. If it's your first time here, feel free to subscribe. I publish here regularly. A like would be very much appreciated as well. It helps the channel grow. See you next time here on YouTube or see you in Premium. Link to Premium pops up here on the screen. Thanks for watching. Cheers.